So let's talk about these dozens of Caribbean nationals, these dozens of British citizens that are facing deportation under Boris Johnson. There's dozens of them sitting on a plane, ready to be deported. The High Court ruled the other day that these were unlawful deportations. Boris Johnson, of course, being Boris Johnson, is going to fight the courts, because how dare the courts tell us what the law says and what we can and can't do under the law. Don't you know, only the Tories can interpret the law and tell us what it means. He's going to deport these people. And the government claim, is that these criminals, these people, human beings, have very serious criminal rep sheets. One of the men was arrested 10 years ago for some mobile phone thefts. He hasn't been in trouble that I can see since then. He's now started a family in this country. He's got a baby born in this country, and he is facing deportation for something he did 10 years ago. Now, anybody watching this who supports the deportation of that man, anybody who wants these people to be kicked out of the country, deported back to a country they haven't seen, many of them haven't seen for years, since they were children. I'm making no judgment of you whatsoever. It's everyone's right to have an opinion, everyone's right to have a belief on this issue. But I will just say, look me in the eye and tell me you haven't done anything wrong in your life. Look me in the eye and tell me 10 years ago you didn't do something stupid. This man stole some mobile phones 10 years ago. Okay, he was arrested. He was obviously tried. The evidence was seen. He went to prison for 2 months. Like the rest of these so-called criminals on this plane, they've all done time for their sentences. This man has done 2 months in prison. He's come out. He's turned his life around. He's built a family. He's got a child born here. Now, I grew up without a father. And you're telling me that you would like to see this child grow up without a father. I know what having a no father figure is like. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I had enough men in my life to sort of fill in the blanks. My grandfather had largely filled in a hole left behind by my father. Many people aren't that lucky. And you want to break up a family because of something that a man did 10 years ago. It's easy to take the harsh stance and say, well, shouldn't break the law if you didn't want to be kicked out of the country 10 years ago. Now, of course, they're violent criminals. Some of them have got serious convictions. Bollocks is just that, bollocks. Boris Johnson was born in the USA, and he admitted to taking cocaine, Class A drugs. He admitted he conspired to beat up a journalist. Deport him. Rolf Harris, Australian citizen, known sex offender, is sitting in one of our prisons. Deport him. Why aren't we deporting those people? Well, there's a very obvious reason why we're not deporting those people. And I won't say it, but you know what it is. These people are... This is another Windrush scandal. This is Windrush Mark II. Theresa May apologised for the grief and the suffering and the misery caused by her racist policy, which caused citizens, law-abiding citizens of the UK, who have lived in this country since they were months old in some cases, and by the time they were asked to prove that they had legal right to work and live in this country, they were 60, 50. Dexter Bristol was over 50. He'd been in the country since he was 8. And he was asked to provide 3 pieces of documentation evidence for every year he has lived or worked in the UK to be able to stay in the UK. I've never even been outside the country. I was born in Greenwich Hospital, now Queen Elizabeth. I grew up in Lewisham. I've lived, worked in the UK my entire life, never even been outside its borders. I can't provide 3 pieces of documentation evidence for every year I've lived and worked in the UK. So how do you expect a man whose life was upended at 8 years old to begin with, and has lived significantly longer than me, to provide 3 pieces of documentation evidence for every year he's lived and worked in the UK, just so he can stay here with his family? That man went on to die. He had a heart attack, and the coroners actually believed, voiced their belief, that it was the stress of that killed him. So this government, when Stormzy says Britain is definitely racist, 100%, and the media twists it to say that he means everyone in the UK is racist somehow, that's not what he means. What he means is things like this, where you have people who've set up a life in the UK. Yes, they've done some silly things in the past. They've got some criminal records. But they set up a life in the UK, set something up, got family, got children. So all of a sudden they're being told, off you trot, you committed a crime 10 years ago. It's outrageous. It's disgusting. It's despicable. If we're going to start deporting criminals, deporting foreign nationals because they committed crimes, not a policy I agree with, but fair enough. But let's do it across the board. Fair enough. If you want to deport foreign nationals, fine. When they commit crimes, fine. But let's do it across the board. Let's kick out Rolf Harris, extradite him to Australia. And he can be a burden on their prison system. Just kick out Boris Johnson. Actually, I've got an idea that all those Caribbean nationals, or anybody in the Caribbean or African, of Caribbean or African descent, or in the Caribbean and African communities, who has ever smoked a joint, who has ever, dipped their hand in something, who has ever broken any law, any insignificant, tiny little law, anyone of Caribbean, African descent, or from those countries who has broken any law should just apply for a job in politics, because it seems to be that if you get a job in politics and you've broken the law, you can get away with it. Michael Gove was shoving cocaine up his nose. There's video footage of him off his tits in the House of Commons. So off his tits, not only is he taking illegal Class A drugs, he's at work under the influence of these drugs. Anybody else turns up at work under the influence of drugs, they get sent home and quite possibly sacked. But Michael Gove can get away with it because he's in government. Boris Johnson can get away with it because he's Prime Minister, even though he is a foreign national. He was born in America. He's of Turkish descent. And he has admitted to using Class A drugs. He had the police called out to his house after screams of "get off me" were heard. He conspired to beat up a journalist. Many, many other things. Many other things. He's been proven to have lied to the House of Commons a number of times, which is arguably an illegal thing when you look at how the system works. The judges, the high judges in this country, have ruled a number of his decisions unconstitutional, illegal. So deport Boris Johnson, deport Rolf Harris, deport any other foreign national that isn't from Caribbean and African countries or descent who has committed a crime. And I'm going to say, actually, deport white foreign nationals who have committed a crime that are sitting in their prisons. And then maybe we can talk about, should we deport Caribbean and African descendants, people of Caribbean and African descent who have committed some crime 10 years ago. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.